Welcome to Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt of the Marquardt Law Firm at marquardtlawfirm.com.
I'm Todd Marquardt here with my dad, Dr. Terry Marquardt. Did you hear the saxophone in the theme music?
I did hear it, and what I especially liked, though, was order in the court. The court's in session.
Be seated. Yeah, that's funny. The production team came up with that for me, but I got to choose the theme music, and I wanted to have the saxophone in there because that's part of our family heritage and legacy.
Yeah.
So this is Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt on KLUP 930 AM The Answer. Podcasts everywhere, and Facebook Live, YouTube, and talklawradio.com. My mission is to help you discover your legal issue blind spots by listening to me talk about the law on the radio. But today it's a very special edition of Talk Law Radio. I have my dad, Dr. Terry Marquardt, here. And this is his third appearance on the show. The first two times we talked about his career in optometry. We talked about his time in the New Mexico State Legislature. And today we're talking about his career in music. But first I want to thank Hector Signs with Liberty Tax Services. If you're looking for a business consultant or a tax specialist, call Hector Signs at Liberty Tax South San, and he can help you with figuring out what to do now in the last quarter of the year that might help you reduce your federal income tax liability when it comes time to file in April 2024. I'm going to get right into it because we have a lot to cover. If you want to hear about how Dad really got started in music when he was 5 years old, tune in next Sunday for the bonus edition of Talk Law Radio, Sunday at 4:30 in the afternoon. That's when we have a half hour with no breaks, and you can learn about how Dad got started when he was 5 years old. For now, let's pick up where you were introduced to different musical instruments, and Granddaddy told you no, you couldn't play the drums. What happened next?
Well, before we get into that, I just want to make a comment. You know, this is a law program, and a lot of people tune in to learn about the law and its relationship to their lives, and so they may wonder why is this old man taking up so much of time on the radio of this prominent attorney's law show. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about that, and you know, when you interviewed me about my legislative experiences, well, of course that relates to the law because the legislature writes the laws. Mm-hmm. You interviewed me about the optometry career. Well, it's the law that and the legislature that regulates the professions. So that's all part. And of course there's malpractice law. There's also patient rights law. So I mean that all relates. But today we're talking about music in our family. And so how does that relate to your law program? And I was thinking about that. And the way that I see it as, you know, it's like in the Bible is a compilation of law and gospel. Those are our guiding light.
Right.
So everything that affects life is part of either law and gospel.
Well, I like to talk about legacy.
Uh-huh.
And it relates to the law of inheritance, and that's what my law practice focuses on: last wills, living trusts, and tax-protected inheritance plans. So usually I save about 12 minutes to talk about legacy, but I want to listen to this after you're gone. Uh-huh. I want to remember your legacy. And it's more than just the knickknacks that you pass down to your kids. It's the values. A lot of the music clips that we played in the first segment, I didn't know about until you started preparing for this show. And so that's what part of the reason it's important to me. Another reason that I like doing the radio is to encourage people to live an active life, to pursue their dreams so that they can leave something after they're gone to anybody, even if it's to the community or the nation or the world. Have an impact by doing things. And I'm very proud of everything that you've done, because you're always leaving an impact wherever you go. And you did that in optometry, you did that in the legislature, you did that with music. Next year we'll talk about your legacy with golf. And so that's another reason I wanted to highlight your life, because other people might not have a dad like you. And so you can be their surrogate dad, and look up to you and say, Dr. Marquardt did all these things. Maybe I should start pursuing my own dreams.
Well, that's exactly right. And what I would say to you is, just as you're promoting me as a surrogate dad for somebody that didn't grow up in a family like ours, well, after I'm gone, it's your job to be somebody's surrogate dad and to bring those values and ethics and morals that are important for our society, so that you can pass that on to somebody. Because what I learned actually when I was a lifeguard and a swim coach, there's somebody always watching. And of course, in my case, it was little kids watching the big lifeguard, although I'm not a big stature. But a little kid told me one time, and he said, well, you taught me to never give up. And he developed, this particular kid, he developed into a very competitive college swimmer. But when I started with him as a little kid, he was probably, he barely qualified for the swim meets. But and I didn't even know that I had that effect on his life. But later on, he told me, you taught me never give up. And so when I'm thinking about the law and gospel of your program, Adam Smith, one of our founding forefathers, taught us that capitalism doesn't work unless there's a moral fiber, of moral background to the country.
Right.
And so that's a legal aspect. And what you're doing, as you mentioned earlier, with this program of interviewing your father, what we're teaching is the fiber of our country is dependent on the fiber of the family. And so that's how I see this interview relating to your law program.
Okay, good. Yeah, I agree with that. And we need to just remind people of that, because I think it's something that God implants in our heart and soul anyway, right and wrong. And some people forget. And so I'm just here to remind you. And just like I remind you about the Constitution, we want to maintain the freedom and liberty that we have, because what would it be like if we didn't have that?
Absolutely.
And so we need to be grounded in the moral, ethical, biblical principles that we have, so that we can continue to have that freedom and liberty.
And so to continue with our legacy of music in our family, we started with when I enrolled in the music program in 5th grade.
We'll have to pick up where we left off after this break. Stay tuned.
This has been Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt, brought to you by the Marquardt Law Firm. You can learn more at marquardtlawfirm.com. And be sure to listen to the full Talk Law Radio show Saturday mornings at 11 on 9:30 a.m. The Answer.
Each week, attorney Todd Marquardt talks about the law. His mission with the Talk Law Radio show and podcast is to help you discover your legal issue blind spots. In the beginning, God had one law. Don't eat from the fruit of that tree. Then came the 10 Commandments. Now we have federal, state, and municipal lawmakers that won't stop creating new laws. Laws that might impact you without you knowing it. Listen to the show and drop a line on Facebook or email host@talklawradio.com and let the host know what you think of the show, the topics you want to hear, and whether you want to be a guest.